send non-secure. So you're telling me it's a classified piece of information, she's taking off the header, and she's instructing them to send it in a non-secure format. Is that not intent?
Well, that actually caught my attention when I first saw it, and what she explained to us during our interview was, and other witnesses did as well, is what she meant by that is make it into a non-classified document. That's what a non-paper is in their world, and send it to us, because I don't need the classified stuff, I just need the...
Then why take off the heading? If it's going to be turned into a non-classified document, why take off the heading?
I assume because it would be non-classified anymore, so you wouldn't have a classified header on it. I think is what she said during our interview.
She wanted to be technically correct? Is that what you're saying? That you're...
No, I think what she said during the interview is, I was telling him, in essence, send me an unclassified document. Take the header off, turn it into a non-paper, which is a term I never heard before, but I'm told by people I credit that in diplomatic circles that means something we can pass to another government.
You are very generous in your accepting of that. Let me ask you, Director, did any uncleared individuals receive any classified information over Hillary Clinton's server?
Did any uncleared people receive classified information? I don't think any of the correspondence on the classified emails were uncleared people. These were all people with clearances working, doing State Department business on the unclassed system.
Did Mr. Pagliano have the requisite security clearance?
As I sit here today, I can't remember. He was not a participant on the classified email exchanges, though.
But he was running the server. He set it up.
That's a different question. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question then. Yeah, there's no doubt that uncleared people had access to the server, because even after Pagliano, there were others who maintained the server who were private sector folks.
So there are hundreds of classified documents on these servers. How many people without a security clearance had access to that server?
I don't know the exact numbers. I sit here. It's probably more than 2, less than 10.
And I appreciate your willingness to follow up with this. Did Secretary Clinton's attorneys have the security clearances needed?
They did not.
Does that concern you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Is there any consequence to an attorney rifling through Secretary Clinton's, Hillary Clinton's emails without a security clearance?
Well, not necessarily criminal consequences, but there's a great deal of concern about an uncleared person not subject to the requirements we talked about in the read-in documents potentially having access. That's why it's very, very important for us to recover everything we can back from attorneys.
So what's the consequence? I mean, here, Hillary Clinton gave direction to her attorneys without a security clearance to go through documents that were classified.
Yeah, I think that's what happened in fact. Whether that was the direction is a question I can't answer sitting here.
So you're parsing that one a little bit for me.
No, you were just asking me. I don't
What's
know.
the consequence? They don't work for the government. We can't fire them.
Right.
So is there no criminal prosecution of those attorneys? Should they lose their bar license? What's the consequence to that?
Well, if they acted with criminal intent or acted with some malintent.
What you're telling us is it doesn't matter if you have a security clearance or not. Because I may be innocent enough. Hey, I'm just an attorney. I like the secretary. I'm trying to help Hillary Clinton. I'm not trying to give it to the Chinese or the Russians. I'm just trying to help her. So there's no intent? It doesn't matter if these people have security clearances?
Of course it matters. That's why I said that.
But there's no consequence, Director. There's no consequence.
Well, I don't know what consequence you'd have in mind.
Prosecute them.
An attorney for receiving from his client information that ends up being classified.
I asked you at the very beginning, is there a reasonable expectation that Hillary Clinton would send and receive, if not daily, hourly, if not daily, classified information? That's reasonable to think that the Secretary of State would get classified information at every moment. She's not the head of Fish and Wildlife. So the idea that she would turn over her emails, her system, her server to what it sounds like up to 10 people without security clearances, and there's no consequence. So why not do it again?
That's a question I don't think you should put to me. You're asking, I'm talking about my criminal investigation.
But how can that, there's no intent there? Does she not understand that these people don't have security clearances?
Surely she understands at least some of them don't have security clearances.
So if she understands they don't have security clearances, and it's reasonable to think she's going to be in classified information, is that not intent to provide a non-cleared person access to classified information?
You're mixing it up, though. I don't think it's reasonable to assume, mixing me up, sorry, it's not your fault, that someone who is maintaining your server is reading your emails. In fact, I don't think that's the case here. There's a separate thing, which is when she's engaging counsel to comply with the State Department's request, are her lawyers then exposed to information that may be on there that's classified? So,
and did they see any classified information? Did Hillary Clinton's attorneys, without security clearances, see classified information?
I sit here, I don't know the answer to that.
It has to be yes, Director. You came across 110, and they said they went through all of them.
Well, they didn't read them all. They just looked at headers.
So their excuse is, we saw the emails, but we didn't read them?
No, I think I said this in my statement on Tuesday. They sorted the emails by using headers and search terms to try and find work-related emails. We read them all.
I know that you read them all. Do you think it's reasonable or unreasonable to think that her attorneys, under her direction, did or did not read those emails? Because there were, let me go back to this, yes or no. Were there or were there not classified emails that that Hillary Clinton's attorneys read?
I don't know whether they read them at the time.
Did Hillary Clinton give non-cleared people access to classified information?
Yes.
What do you think her intent was?
I think then was to get good legal representation and to make the production to the State Department. I think it'd be a very tall order in that circumstance. I don't see the evidence there to make a case that she was acting with criminal intent in her engagement with her lawyers.
And I guess I read in criminal intent as the idea that you allow somebody without a security clearance access to classified information. Everybody knows that, Director. Everybody knows that. I've gone way past my time. Let me recognize Mr. Cummings for an equal amount of time.
Director, thank you for your patience. I want to clear up some things. I want to make sure I understand exactly what you testified to on the issue of whether Secretary Clinton sent or received emails that were marked as classified. On Tuesday, you stated, and I quote, only a very small number of the emails containing classified information bore markings, and I emphasize, bore markings indicating the presence of classified information, end of quote. Republicans have pounced on this statement as evidence that Secretary Clinton lied. But today, we learned some significant new facts, and I hope the press listens to this. First, you clarified that you were talking about only 3 emails out of 30,000 your office reviewed. Is that right?
3, yes.
3 out of 30,000. Is that right?
Yes, at least 30,000.
At least 30,000. Second, you confirmed that these 3 emails were not properly marked as classified at the time based on federal guidelines and manuals. They did not have a classification header. They did not list the original classifier, the agency, office of origin, reason for classification, or date for declassification. Instead, these emails included only a single, quote, C, parenthesis, in parenthesis, and then end of quotation mark for confidential on one paragraph lower down in the text. Is that right?
Correct.
Third, you testified that based on these facts, it would have been a, quote, reasonable inference for Secretary Clinton to, quote, immediately, end of quote, conclude that these emails were not, in fact, classified. So that was also critical new information. But there's one more critical fact, that these emails were not, in fact, and that is this, Director, and to the press, these emails were not, in fact, classified. The State Department explained to us yesterday, they reported that these emails are not classified and that including the little c on these emails was a result of a human error. The bottom line is that those little c's should not have been on those documents because they were not, in fact, classified. When Representative Watson Coleman asked you a few minutes ago about this, you testified that you had not been informed, and I understand that. I'm not beating up on you, I promise you. But can you tell us why, Director Comey? Because I want, because the Republicans are pouncing saying that the Secretary lied, and so I want to make sure we're clear on this. Can you tell us why, Director Comey, did you consult, and we're just curious, did you consult with the State Department about these 3 emails out of the more than 30,000? Or did this just not come up? What happened there?
Yeah, I'm not remembering for sure while I'm here. I'm highly confident we consulted with them and got their view on it. I don't know about what happened yesterday. Maybe that their view has changed or they found things out that we didn't know. But I'm highly confident we consulted with them about it.
So this is totally different than what we understood yesterday. Today we learned that these emails were not, in fact, classified. They should not have been included. They should have not included those stray markings. They were not properly marked as classified, and the director of the FBI believes it was reasonable for Secretary Clinton to assume that these documents were not classified. Chairman, you raised a question about whether Secretary Clinton's attorneys had security clearances. It is my understanding that they did. We can double check that, but that is my understanding. And we'll double check that. Going on, let me move to the next topic. You explained on Tuesday that you were providing, quote, an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email system during her time as Secretary of State. You explained that you received a referral on this matter from the Inspector General of Intelligence Community on July 6, 2016. Is that right?
Yes.
Today, tens of thousands of Secretary Clinton's emails are publicly available on the State Department's website. And our staff have been reviewing the emails that were retroactively determined to include classified information. Based on this review, it appears that these emails included more than 1,000 individuals who sent or received the information that is now redacted as classified. Let me make that clear. About 1,000 people sent or received the same information that was contained in Secretary Clinton's emails and retroactively classified. Were you aware of that?
No, the number doesn't surprise me, though.
Why not?
Because they were doing the business of the State Department on this email system, so I don't know how many thousands of people work at the State Department, but it doesn't surprise me there'd be lots of people on these chains.
And would you agree that we need to, that something needs to be done with regard to this classification stuff? Because things are classified, then they're not classified, then they are retroactively classified. And, I mean, does that go into your consideration when looking at a case like this?
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to the up-classified stuff because we're focused on intent. So if someone classifies it later, it's impossible that you formed intent around that because it wasn't classified at the time. I know that's a process. I wasn't familiar with it before this investigation, but I don't spend a lot of time focused on it in the course of a criminal investigation.
I understand. We also reviewed who these people are, and they include a host of very experienced career diplomats with many years of experience. So let me ask you this. When you received this referral from the Inspector General about Secretary Clinton's emails, did you also receive any referrals for any of the other 1,000 people who sent and received those emails? Did you?
No.
I understand.
Well, I should stop there. Within the scope of our investigation was a group of people closer to the Secretary. We looked at their conduct. Probably, I forget what the number is, 4 or 5 of them. But then the hundreds of others who may have been on the chains were not the subjects of the investigation.
I think I have 30 more seconds. I understand that the Secretary Clinton is the only one running for president, but it does not make sense that she was singled out for a referral to the FBI. Do you agree with that?
I don't think I agree with that.
Okay, now let's go back to Colin Powell. Do you think you ought to look at his situation? Or Condoleezza Rice?
Well, there's been no referral on them. I know only sort of a superficial level their circumstances. This case strikes me as very different from those and not an inappropriate referral from the Inspector General.
Very well.
I thank the gentleman. Who was Hillary Clinton emailing that was hacked?
Yeah, I don't want to say in an open forum. We can get you that information, but I don't want to, again, I don't want to give any hostile adversaries insight into what we figured out.
Fair enough.
So I know the names.
Understood. Yeah. Was there any evidence of Hillary Clinton attempting to avoid compliance with the Freedom of Information Act?
That was not the subject of our criminal investigation, so I can't answer that sitting here.
It's a violation of law, is it not?
Yes, my understanding is there are civil statutes that apply to that. I don't know of a
So let's put the boundaries on this a little bit. What you didn't look at. You didn't look at whether or not there was an intention or the reality of noncompliance with the Freedom of Information Act.
Correct.
You did not look at testimony that Hillary Clinton gave in the United States Congress, both the House and the Senate.
To see whether it was perjurious in some respect?
Yes.
No, we did not.
Did you review and look at those transcripts as to the intent of your recommendation?
I'm sure my folks did. I did not.
So, okay, and this is an important point, because I think those of us in Congress, knowing that you got a criminal referral from an inspector general, thought that you were also looking at whether or not Hillary Clinton had provided false testimony, which is a crime, to the Congress. But you didn't look at that.
Correct. Right. As I said, I'm confident my folks looked at the substance of the statements, trying to understand the circumstances around the entire situation.
Can you confirm that? I just want to
we'll confirm that. But and also, again, maybe I'm missing this, but I don't think we got a referral from congressional committees, a perjury referral.
No, it was the Inspector General that initiated this. Yeah. Did the fact that Hillary Clinton refused to be interviewed by the Inspector General, what did that say to you about intent?
Not, at least for our criminal investigation, not particularly germane.
Are you familiar? You're familiar. There's a website. I mean, lots of government agencies have websites. The State Department has a website, state.gov, and they have a YouTube site. Videos that are uploaded to a YouTube site, would those be considered federal records?
I don't know.
So they're paid for by federal dollars. They're maintained by federal employees. Would that not be a federal record?
Yeah, I just don't know. I'm sure there's an expert who could answer that in 2 seconds, but I'm not that expert.
Okay, we've kept you here a long time. I want to follow up on that. Is the FBI still investigating Hillary Clinton's aides?
No is the answer. The Department of Justice declined on all of those who were subjects communicating with her through that email system.
What recommendations did you make about her aides?
Same. We didn't recommend that anybody be prosecuted on those facts.
And if you can help us understand who precisely had been ruled out for prosecution, that would be...
Sure.
Did you look at the Clinton Foundation?
I'm not going to comment on the existence or non-existence of any other investigations.
Was the Clinton Foundation tied into this investigation?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that.
The server that was set up in her home was originally set up by, you said, former President Bill Clinton.
Correct.
Do you know who paid for that?
I don't, sitting here.
Okay. I'll allow some equal time now for my colleague and friend, Mr. Cummings.
I'm going to yield 2 minutes to of my 3.43 to Mr. Lynch.
Thank you, Mr. Director. We're talking about hacking, and so on this committee, we're very much interested in cybersecurity, and we review a lot of the major hacks that are going on. So just recently, and I would say in the last 18 months, we've had a major hack, February of 2016 at the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. We had a hacking group. The Site Intelligence Group reported that a group called Crackers with Attitude had hacked 9,000 employees' data from the Department of Homeland Security, including names, email addresses, locations, telephone numbers. Also, 20,000 FBI workers. We had another hack, direct evidence, obviously, of those. Another hack at OPM of 4.2 million current and former federal government employees. Their information had been stolen, including Social Security numbers, which were not redacted. We had IRS in May 2015, 200,000 attempted and 100,000 were successful. We had State Department announced a breach of its computer systems after an infiltration forced the agency to temporarily shut down its classification system. We had the United States Postal Service, 800,000 postal employees, 2.9 million customers. The White House, Washington Post reported this is back in 2014, that the White House computer was hacked. National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. We had I'm on another committee for financial services. We had Verizon, UCLA Health Systems, thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. Anthem Healthcare, Sony Pictures, Staples, Home Depot, J.P. Morgan. It gets into the millions. Community Health Systems, Target, TJX. So all these we have direct evidence, millions and millions and millions of people, their accounts being hacked. Any direct evidence that Hillary Clinton's emails were hacked?
No.
Okay. I have no further questions. I yield back.
Mr. Director, we are about at the end. I'm going to do a concluding statement, and then I think the chairman will. I want to, first of all, I want to go back to something that Ms. Watson Coleman said a little earlier. As an African-American man in this country, 66 years old, moving towards the twilight of my life, we cannot allow black men to continue to be slaughtered. This morning, I woke up to my wife literally crying, watching the tape of this guy, Anton Sterling, in Baton Rouge, and then she looked at the one for Philandro Castle near Minneapolis. And I hope you watch them. There's something wrong with this picture. And don't get me wrong, I am all for, I've supported police, I am a lawyer, and I know how important police are, and I know there's so many great folks. But, Mr. Director, if you do nothing else in your 2,000 plus days left, you have got to help us get a hold of this issue. It is so painful. I can't even begin to tell you. And so I've been fortunate in my life. I've been very fortunate that I have not been harmed by the police, but I've been stopped 50 million times. Now, with regard to this hearing, I want to thank you again. You know, as I listened to you, you said something that I will never forget. And for some reason, it gave me a chill. You said there are two things that are most important to me. Two things. You said, my family and my reputation. My family and my reputation. And I don't know whether your family's watching this, but I hope that they are as proud of you as I am. Because you are the epitome of what a public servant is all about. Sacrificing over and over and over again, trying to do the right thing, sometimes coming under ridicule, but yet and still doing the right thing. And so I hope that they are proud of you. The second thing I hope is that no matter what has happened in this hearing, I hope that you know that your reputation is still intact. And so I conclude by summarizing that I think some of our key findings today. First, the director testified that his entire team of 15 to 20 FBI investigators and analysts unanimously agreed on the recommendation not to prosecute Secretary Clinton. Second, Director Comey made crystal clear that Republican claims, and some of the talking heads' claims of bias are completely false. Testified that he would treat John Doe the same way he would treat Hillary Clinton, and that he was very forceful on that point. Third, on the claim that Secretary Clinton sent or received emails that were marked as classified, that claim has now been significantly undercut. Those documents were not classified, and those markings were not proper. Finally, Republicans have repeatedly cried foul about a double standard when it comes to Secretary Clinton's emails. But Director Comey testified that the real double standard would have been to prosecute her with this completely inadequate evidence. Again, Director, I thank you, but I thank somebody else. I thank, and having practiced law for many years, and having dealt with the FBI on many cases, I want to thank the people who work with you, because this is not just about you. This is not just about Secretary Clinton. When we are addressing you, there are a whole cadre of people who give their blood, their sweat, and their tears to protect us as Americans. And I just want to thank them, because sometimes I think they are forgotten, unseen, unnoticed, unappreciated, and unapplauded. But today I applaud them, and I thank you. Thank you very much, and I yield back.
And I thank the gentleman, and I concur with the idea that every FBI agent I have ever met has just been above reproach, and they make us proud, and they work hard, they put their lives on the line, they serve overseas, they serve domestically. Can't thank them enough for what they do, and I hope that is part of the message that we carry back. I cannot thank you personally enough, you on a personal level, for your accessibility, your ability to get on the phone with me the same day that you make your announcement, and then in rapid fire when I said to you, what day is best? We're going to have to do this, so which day is best for you? And you said Thursday, and here we are and doing it. I can't thank you enough. I wish all of the government employees would have that attitude and approach, and I really do. And I can't thank you enough. I look forward to working with you and your staff as we move forward and getting this documentation, things that you can't share publicly, and others. It is the intention of the committee to, I had told Mr. Cummings here that we would come back after votes. Votes have been pushed back now a bit, so what I'd like to do is to go into recess for 5 minutes, and then we will start with our second panel. Committee stands in recess until 5 minutes now. Thank you again, Director Comey.